From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. On the day, Statistics Canada is sharing real gross domestic product figures for February and early estimates for the first quarter. The price of Brent crude oil surged to around $121 US a barrel this morning. It even briefly surpassed $125 as stalled US-Iran talks raised doubts over the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and a permanent end to the Iran war. Before the war began in late February, Brent crude was trading around $70 a barrel. More questions about the growing cost of the war in Iran will be addressed by U.S. lawmakers today in Washington. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
Secretary Pete Hegseth back on Capitol Hill, one day after a combative hearing before Congress.
The biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless, feckless, and defeatist words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans.
Hegseth testifying for nearly 6 hours about the war in Iran, now in its 9th week. The Pentagon yesterday saying the cost of the war has reached $25 billion so far.
Hegseth will testify before the Senate Armed Services Committee today. Funeral arrangements are still in the early stages, but the body of an Ontario police officer who died in the line of duty this week will be taken today from Toronto to Oshawa ahead of the services. Ontario Provincial Police Sergeant Brandon Malcolm died in a motorcycle crash Monday on Highway 401 in Cobourg, east of Toronto. Investigators are still trying to figure out the circumstances of the single vehicle collision. Experts say it makes sense that some families of February's mass shooting victims in Tumbler Ridge, BC, have launched wrongful death lawsuits in California. The plaintiffs' Canadian lawyers say they decided to pursue the suits in the States, partly because Canadian courts capped damages for pain and suffering. Chicago-based lawyer Jay Edelson is representing some of the victims. He says they will likely seek more than $1 billion in their legal action against OpenAI and its founder, Sam Altman.
This is the first known case where employees at OpenAI were so alarmed that they said we need to talk to the authorities.
They allege OpenAI made a conscious decision not to notify police about the shooter's troubling activity with its chatbot months before 18-year-old Jessie Van Rootselaar killed 8 people, wounded dozens, and took her own life. A new report focusing on the perspectives of young people says the government should force AI companies to tackle the addictive design of chatbots. It's one of a series of recommendations made by youth between 17 and 23 who took part in roundtables across the country. McGill University's report says some youth argued many chatbots are designed to flatter users in order to cultivate dependency and maximize the amount of time they'll spend on the platform. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, in the NHL last night, veteran forward Brendan Gallagher scored on his first shift as the Montreal Canadiens beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2 in Game 5 of their first-round playoff series. Gallagher returned to the lineup after spending the first 4 games as a healthy scratch. The longest-serving Hab spoke about his approach to Game 5.
It's the same now as it was my first year in the league. You just take nothing for granted.
Alex Texier's goal put the Habs up 3-2 in their series. Cam York buried the winner late in overtime to give Philadelphia a 1-0 win over Pittsburgh and the series in 6 games. And Brett Howden scored in the second overtime period to give Vegas a 5-4 win over Utah. In the NBA playoffs, the Toronto Raptors lost Game 5 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They trail their first-round series 3 games to 2 now. Top-seeded Detroit beat the Orlando Magic to stave off elimination. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.